The internet, haven for the over-analytical. And there's one game in particular where some fans have been doing some extreme over-analyzing. Earthbound has a very disconcerting antagonist. Giygas, whatever. His name is unpronounceable. And he's an alien who has become too powerful to be contained in a physical body. Nor does he retain any trace of intelligence. He is just evil, no thinking required. He's so powerful that Ness and party have to go back in time to defeat him while in a less powerful state. And let the over-analyzing begin. A number of fans have interpreted the ending of the game as an abortion. Because, you also shrink when you go back in time. So, Giygas is in some strange intestine-y looking place. So yeah, I can see how someone could associate this environment with the inside of an alien's body. When you first meet the antagonist, he looks like Ness. Or I have heard that he's supposed to look like Ninten from the first game in the series. Then he looks like Gah! And it's not over yet. His final form is even squigglier. And if you look closely, you will see a little fetus snuggled in there. Of course! The only explanation for this is that you traveled back in time to before GLaDOS was born. Ooh, and the Japanese name for the series is Mother. So yep, it's an abortion. In 2003, Shigesato Itoi revealed his inspiration for the final boss, who is called Geek in Japan, by the way. He had a traumatic experience as a young child when he went into the wrong movie theater and witnessed a scene from the military policeman and the dismembered beauty. He wanted this character to embody that trauma he experienced as a child. Some people say, aha, that's it! It was an abortion because Itoi said this, which I don't really understand. He wanted to convey the absolute terror that the scene provoked to him, not reenact the scene, which had nothing to do with abortion anyway. He thought it was a rape scene, but it was just murder. So, what about the fetus squiggle? Unless the production team says, yes, you figured it out, it is an abortion, it's probably not an abortion. As for me, I think it symbolizes how primitive Giygas has become. By attaining power, he lost control over his actions. He's acting purely through instinct and reflex, just like an infant. And the universe would be in very real danger if an infant was given unfathomable power. And I guess it could be a coincidence, but if you turn it upside down, it kind of resembles Giygas' original form in the first game. And no matter which way you turn it, it still looks like a really freaky magic eye. Okay, want another example of extreme overanalyzation? Here's GLaDOS. When I first encountered her, I thought I was battling a robotic arm with a spunky personality. Turns out I was battling a robotic woman strapped and bound, hanging upside down. That's crazy, right? Well, it is true that the inspiration for GLaDOS' physical appearance was inspired by the feminine form, and she is hanging from a ceiling. An earlier version of GLaDOS was basically an upside-down version of Botticelli's Birth of Venus. But this image, it's an interpretation of GLaDOS by this artist and blogger. Valve has never confirmed that this is indeed how they envision GLaDOS themselves. Actually, here is what Jeremy Bennett of Valve had to say about GLaDOS' design.
GLaDOS, the rogue disk operating system that now runs Aperture Science, went through a bunch of design iterations. Earlier versions included a floating brain, a sprawling spidery mechanism, and an upside-down version of Botticelli's Rise of Venus built out of robot parts and wire. Eventually we settled on a huge mechanical device with a delicate robotic figure dangling out of it, which successfully conveys both GLaDOS' raw power and her femininity.
But this is the internet, and one person's overanalyzation is another person's undeniable truth. And there's no event that can occur in a video game that inspires more extreme overanalyzing than the death of a character. Eris seemed to have the most profound effect on gamers. The early internet provided endless side quests for those brave enough to resurrect the dead. Yeah, we're not gonna try any of those out. But here are some of the most common pieces of evidence heralded as proof that Eris zombie exists. She appears in the church as an apparition on Disc 2, there are 2 extra cutscenes in the game, and there is a new materia in the NSTC version. And the only reason to add new materia is for resurrecting, of course. So Eris has a ghost in the church. It's just a ghost. Or is it a glitch? Really, This is one seriously glitchy church, but I think the Eris ghost was intentional. Being able to walk past this point without her disappearing is a glitch. The ending cutscene was divided into 3 parts, but this caused some people to think there were 2 unseen cutscenes in the game. The underwater materia made an appearance in the North American version, and this led some people to think maybe Eris could be resurrected using it in this version of the game. I guess because Cloud puts her body in the water? Really, every tiny detail of the game was scrutinized by Eris lovers. Look at this! A giant Eris in the debug room. Maybe... no. If you want to see this lady again, you'll have to use a Game Shark, or start the game over again. Another notable resurrectee is General Leo from Final Fantasy VI. He's in your party for about 5 minutes, but apparently some of us wanted more of this dreamy military man. Luckily, a Game Genie code makes both General Leo and Kefka playable characters. But General Leo is still dead. And then there's Schala from Chrono Trigger. Well, I guess she wasn't technically dead, but no one knew what happened to her. There were rumors of a secret side quest that was related to this poorly translated line. Hint, this may be the least helpful line in the entire game. But maybe there was a scrap side quest related to Scala. The pre-release contained an ocean palace-like complex under the forest ruins and a dungeon in Zeal Palace. The subsequent sequels to Chrono Trigger teach us that Scala was reborn and sent to another era by a sentient shard of Chrono Trigger's arguably mindless alien antagonist to be raised under a new name. Or that she became fused with Lavos and together they will eventually destroy the universe. Oh, and she cloned herself at some point as well. It just matters what dimension you're in. Happy gaming!